Hey, Joseph. Joseph sneaking in at 1:40 in the morning. All right. So where is Black Dove and Tyler? So what do you guys think? The secret tapes. Mods, you have it easy today because um I have it's members only. Where'd everyone go? Oh, there they are. It's early there. It's late here. You guys are gonna hear a lot of thunder and lightning. It's bad out. I got candles next to me in case it goes out. You too tired? Where's Black Dove? He's the main reason I went live. See, but that's what it sounds like. He wanted an interview. I mean, it really sounded like he wanted an interview. But I don't know. I heard meth. I heard tweaker. That's what I hear. Tweaker, tweaker, tweaker. That's all I hear is tweaker. He did want to speak so much more. I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Hey, Crystal. I don't know. I think he's guilty. I do. I think he kept trying to save his ass. I think that I don't know. I the weirdest part for me was like, I love you, Drew. I love you, dude. You don't even know the guy. It's not a normal thing for guys to say. It's just not. Sorry, not sorry. It's just not normal. See, even Tyler said it's weird. Because it is weird. Now, while that was going on, though, I want Black Dove in here because he said something that I thought was even weirder. He said that he heard that Dylan and Kurt were related. I think that would have came out before. I really do. Oh, you were the one that emailed him the link? About that? Yeah, sharing drugs in the I love yous, exactly. Yeah, is he in here? I didn't see him yet. But I'm only on StreamYards. I'm not on regular chat. Yeah, he'll be in there. He's a member. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's weird. I never heard guys say that. I know, Tyler. I never heard that before, and I'm very curious. I love you, buddy. She's a good. Yeah, it's just strange. Yeah, I don't see Black Dove in here yet. It's just strange. Come on, Black Dove. You're the whole reason I went live. That's a good thing. Unfortunately, I know a lot about them. A lot. Hey, Monica. It's an unfortunate thing. Yeah, he's freaky. The F words, the R words, and all the harsh words, and embed you, love you. Yeah, it's true too. Hey, Black Dove. Hey, let me give you a link. The hair thingy? What hair thingy? Yeah, but you know what, though? When people are drunk, they don't act like that. I mean, they'll talk, but I've never known a drunk person to talk for 2 hours. I've known um I've known non-drunks. I certainly know tweakers that can go for 2, 3 hours. What's up, Black Dove?
Hey, not much.
All right. So your thoughts?
Well,
Actually,
uh,
before you even tell me your thoughts, where did you hear that they were related? I think that would have came out before.
Salty said it himself in a comment.
I'm not buying it. I think
I
that
don't
was
know.
out already.
I don't know. Salty said, "Why is nobody asking why Kurt Wadsworth and Dylan Rounds are blood relatives?" He replied to me on his one of his many weird videos. I commented and said, "Why don't you just release the whole call?" And then that was the thing where he was like, "Why do you want to hear that? Are you some kind of pervert?" I was like, "Wait, what?"
What?
That's what you can read it. It's on his channel. It's on the Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, I think is the title of his video. And I was just like, wait a minute, what? It made my stomach turn to listen to Kurt talk. So he's the one sitting there for 2.5 hours kissing his ass and
Exactly.
saying what a wonderful person he is and that he loves him.
Exactly.
And I'm the weirdo.
Yeah, like why Kurt wasn't sexual. Why would that make you weird? Like, I don't get it.
I wanted to hear it because I wanted to hear what Kurt said.
Oh, I agree with you, but I'm saying it like he didn't say anything sexual. Like, why would that make you a creep? Because you wanted to hear it. It's weird.
I would say that that's projection and deflection on his part, argumentum ad hominem, trying to like discredit any questions that I have by it's just like calling somebody a racist nowadays. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, I don't like what you say, you're automatically a racist. Boom, done, canceled.
true. No, you're right about that. All right, so what'd you think?
Well, according to Kurt, there's a new name that's been thrown in the mix, and I couldn't tell if it was John Shelton with a T or John Sheldon with a D, but it sounded like John Shelton to me. And
Okay.
he said that Dylan called John Shelton at 3:41 p.m. and he hypothesized that it was an emergency call where Dylan was like telling this guy who owns the property, Jim's gone nuts and he's after me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part really stuck out to me. How would he know what Dylan said to this guy unless he was there? Because that voicemail has been like seized by law enforcement. Nobody can listen to it, not even the guy himself, John Shelton.
Well, I'm thinking that he was there. Maybe he was standing next to him. But again, Kurt kept saying that all came from the psychic.
Oh, that's a bunch of BS. How
I
can a
know.
psychic know who got the voicemail and what was in it? Like
I
that's just
agree.
I think the whole psychic thing is just a ruse. I don't even think there really is a psychic, and if there is, they're just somebody that he like is using as a fall guy for him having insider knowledge.
Yep. I'll agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Just like he was saying this Tom Hardy, when he was like, "Oh, Tom Hardy is he's the ringleader and blah blah blah, and these guys don't know what they're doing and they just did what he told them." Like, really, Kurt, is that what you did?
I don't know what to make of what he's saying about the Tom Hardy character because that Tom Hardy guy doesn't even live near there.
So why do you think he's using them?
I don't know. I don't know if Kurt has okay, so in my mind, with Tom Hardy, there's two possibilities. Either what Kurt's saying is true, or Kurt's trying to make him a fall guy.
But if Kurt, see, here's where I have a hard time. If Kurt was trying to make him the fall guy, wouldn't well, I guess I'm answering my own question because that would be a reason why he wouldn't name Jim Brenner at all.
Well, Jim Brenner and Kurt are well known to each other because Kurt put Jim Brenner up for a year after he burned his house down.
Oh, it was Jim Brenner that burned his house down?
Yeah, Jim Brenner, according to Ty Corbin, Jim Brenner was storing gasoline inside of his house and he had a wood burning stove because he's an idiot and he burned his own house down.
But didn't Kurt say on the first half that I played that it was meth? That it was a guy that burned it down because of meth?
He said that, but that's what Ty Corbin says is he doesn't think that any tweakers burned Jim's house down. He just thinks that Jim's an idiot, and he was storing gasoline inside of his house, which you never do, and he had a wood burning stove, and the vapors caught fire and blew his trailer or his shack up. I think it was a little cabin or a shack or something, not a trailer.
Okay. See, I don't watch Doug at all, so I have no idea all the stuff Ty said.
Well, there's more to that actually too, because it was also said by Kurt himself in the Crime Time interview, the very first one he gave at the very end of the first part of it before the phone went bad.
Okay.
He says Ed Harshberger, whose name keeps coming up,
Yeah.
is the one who moved Kurt from Montello out to Lucin to get him away from town because he was starting fights and harassing people. Right. So Ty's theory is that would not have been a one-sided thing where Ed Harshberger just says, yeah, I'm going to get him out of town. It would have been more along the lines of Kurt complaining because Kurt lives there at the saddle store, basically, and wanted Jim Brenner away from town because he's causing problems. Now, why they put him right next to where Dylan was, that remains to be seen. And that's a really stupid maneuver if Kurt cared about Dylan at all, because this guy's been, shooting at people since 1986.
See, but what I have a hard time with is how does Ty not know Dylan if he knows everybody else? If Dylan was over Kurt as much as Kurt says, then how does Ty know everybody else, but just so happens he doesn't know Dylan?
I don't know. I can't answer that, honestly. He said he's probably seen him before, but he does say that he's seen other people like that. And that Michael Moore guy, he's like, well, I don't know him, and he lives right around there.
Yeah, but Ty had this rivalry with Kurt and knew Jim and knows everybody on a more personal level. So
he knows everybody's dirt through other people, it seems.
Allegedly.
He didn't personally know Jim Brenner either, but he definitely knew of him.
Yeah, but remember, Kurt says that Dylan was over his house all the time. And that he was a father to him, and he bragged all over, and he went to the bar. And I don't know. I just find it hard to believe that Ty just doesn't know who he is.
I don't know. I don't find Ty to be sus, though. That's just my take. I don't. I know Kurt's thrown him under the bus a million times. Ty's kind of aired his own dirty laundry. Whereas, Kurt says that Ty is a meth head and all this other stuff. And Ty is out there saying, as much as I think Kurt's a sleazebag, I've never seen him do drugs, and I don't think he does meth. So it's I don't know. He also doesn't flip-flop. His story stays consistent no matter what.
Who, Ty's does?
Yeah. Kurt's changes constantly, but Ty's story has been consistent from the get-go, from what I can tell.
Okay. Like I said, I can't comment on it because I have never watched Ty. I just won't watch Doug, so I don't watch Ty.
Well, I watch everybody because I just want to know what happened.
Oh, I hear you. But that's what I'm saying. So I'm asking you questions about Ty. It's because I just don't know it. No, I know Ty was not at Kurt's house, but all right. When somebody throws themselves into a case, like that they know the people involved or they want to be the spokesperson for the people involved, they do it for two reasons. One, they want fame. Or three reasons. Two, they're trying to cover up their own guilt. Or three, they're lying. And Ty fits in one of those. And I feel like Ty, if you guys all think that he's innocent, then maybe he just fits into the, I want 15 minutes of fame. So
I
that's
don't know. I don't know if it's even that sinister, to be honest. Like, he sounds like he's really pissed off at what's been going on, because if you look into his record, he's been putting himself out there and trying to fight corruption as far as like the county and the water situation.
okay.
And he's been doing that for like at least 5 or 6 years. It's documented. He goes to the courthouse or wherever they have their meetings and stuff about this, to city council type stuff.
Hold
So
on. Welcome life has choices. All right, go on.
he's putting himself out there to like try and fight corruption in the town. And he's basically said, you know what, after all this crap, that he doesn't want anything to do with that place anymore. So
But I see misunderstood. That was my theory too, that maybe Dylan found something out and that's why he got killed. Ty is a very sick wife. He's been searching a lot for Dylan. Sounds distraught for around. I don't know. I just feel like, why are they calling YouTubers? Call the FBI.
he has been in contact with people.
Okay.
He's tried. He according to him, the reason that he's reaching out to people like Jim Terry and YouTubers and stuff is to keep the story going, so that people will not forget and let the case go cold.
Okay. If that's true, and I'm just using logic, then why is he only locked down to Doug? Why not call the cop? That I had on and Jim embarrassed the shit out of tonight. Why not call him? Why not call me? Why not call other people? Why be locked down to Doug?
I don't know. I mean, do you have his number?
No. But Doug already said he's not allowed to talk to anyone else.
Did he?
Yeah, I heard that. I can't confirm it, but that's what I was told.
I
That
didn't hear that.
Doug has him pretty much locked down.
I have not heard that.
So, or maybe he said he wouldn't talk to anyone else besides Doug. It was something like that. You'd have to ask Doug. But maybe, Tyler, are you still in here? Maybe Tyler is the
Hasn't
one.
he called into Tyler's show?
I think once. Tyler's on another channel. Let me check. I think he called in the beginning and then he stopped calling into Tyler. I think. But I have never heard Ty on Tyler.
I don't know. I've been watching so many YouTube streams and stuff lately. It's hard to keep up with who's where and saying what. But something else really stuck out for me in that second part. Like, most of that second part was not as disturbing as the first part that I heard. To me, it was more just like Kurt rambling on about bullshit for the most part. But he did say something else along with the John Shelton thing at 3:41 p.m. that I don't know how this is like a huge bombshell, and it's the biggest thing that I saw in the second part of this. And he says, I wrote this down actually because it was so ridiculous. He says, someone handed him the world, right? Kurt said that about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he was making $200,000 a year, sitting on his ass, working 2 hours a day, bringing in product from the Philippines. And then he goes on to laugh and say, you figure out what the product is. Ha ha ha.
Yep.
And the product has to be the best that it can be. And I was just like, wait a minute, what?
Yep. I caught that too. He was selling dope.
Is it like, I'm not clear, honestly. Like, I'm not clear what comes from the Philippines. Is it mail order brides? Is it human trafficking? Is it dope? Like, what the hell comes from the Philippines to Montello? And how's he making $200,000 a year, 2 hours a day working online, bringing something in from another country, and then he can't figure out how to work a PayPal?
See, I don't think it came to Montello. I think it went to Nevada, which transferred to Montello. Just my opinion.
Well, I mean, he says he was making $200,000 a year and somebody handed him the world. And then he can't figure out how to work a PayPal, and his poor dozens of Filipino wives. Like, I mean, how many wives do you need? And why are they thousands of miles away?
I agree.
And why are they crying? Why are they not being fed? Like, wait a second. Didn't you just say you were bringing down 200 G's a year, 2 hours a day of work? You can't look for Dylan and sit on your butt for 2 hours a day on your computer and do whatever it is that you're doing that sounds really shady and make 200 G's?
No, I think he was saying he did that years ago. I don't,
Mm.
I thought he said he did that many years ago. I didn't think he meant now.
Why quit? If you're making $200,000 a year, why quit?
Well, it could be a lot of reasons. A lot of people think it's human trafficking. So we have a lot of Filipino women on I-40. Thank you, Lead. Precursors?
You mean like precursor drugs, precursor materials to make drugs?
No, because meth is made with common household items. Like, that's the thing. You wouldn't like ship meth from the Philippines. Meth is just made with battery acid and fentanyl, unless they were getting Sudafed from the Philippines. Because remember, Sudafed went illegal. You could no longer buy Sudafed in mass quantity.
Yeah, that was years ago.
I know, but I'm pretty sure he said it was years ago. No, you can't grow meth. Meth is all chemicals. Hold on, I want to look something up real quick.
Well, you need, Sudafed is pseudoephedrine.
Yeah.
And then ephedra is, I guess, a precursor thing that you make meth with or something. And that's why they made it so that you have to like go to the pharmacy and show your ID if you want to buy a box of Sudafed, like I had to when I needed some freaking decongestants.
All right. Oh, they're saying pseudoephedrine is not available in the Philippines. Too many people use it for nefarious reasons. That was in 2018. Oh, wait, hold on. The best equivalent of Sudafed sinus analogy in the Philippines, called Analim, analog, has exactly the same.
Can it be made into meth, though?
Sudafed products are available in Quezon City, Manila, Subo City, Zamboanga City, Davao. All right. Indian cold pills pour over remote border in 2016. Here we go. This is Reuters. 5 years ago, this was in 2016. 5 years ago, when cold pills first trickled across Myers' untamed border with India, many local officials were baffled. Where was this medicine going, and why were so many smugglers interested in it? Today, the cross-border trickle has become a torrent, and everyone knows why the Indian-made pills are so valuable. They are bound for secret laboratories in lawless Eastern that churn out the most mainland Southeast Asia's methamphetamine, or meth. Cold pills contain pseudoephedrine, the main ingredient of meth, a highly addictive drug whose ever-soaring popularity is rattling governments across Asia. In recent, the Philippines has elected a president on a platform of harsh action against drug dealers. Indonesia has resumed executions of drug traffickers after a year-long hiatus. So it could be, meth is not grown, but it could be what they were getting from the Philippines. It's possible.
Well, I mean, whatever it was, he was cagey about what his product is that he was bringing in, making $200K a year, sitting on his butt for 2 hours a day. So I think whether it's meth itself or not is kind of irrelevant. But what's important is what he said.
I know, I agree with you. But I was just saying, like, you can't really like grow meth. So what would smuggle? But yeah, that makes sense. Pseudoephedrine. That's crazy.
And he did say that the product that he was talking about was coming from the Philippines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He did.
Double checking on that. I can't imagine what you could do to make $200,000 a year for 2 hours a day worth of work.
Meth.
I don't know. I mean, like, I really don't know. Money laundering, drug deals, human trafficking, like,
I don't
I
even
don't know.
think human trafficking would get you that much money.
Are you kidding?
2 hours a day, you make 200,000.
Who knows what he's doing in that 2 hours a day, though?
True.
Be really, really interesting to find out who the someone is that handed him the world. Because that someone would be even shadier than Kurt.
Okay, I just want to let you guys know Jennifer's not crazy. You can grow meth. They said Afghanistan's crystal meth boom is rooted in a plant. Drug lords have figured out how to make meth from plants. Which
I was under the impression that the only thing that came out of Afghanistan was opioids.
Nope. It says Afghanistan's crystal meth boom is rooted in this plant, ephedra, known as Oman in some areas of the country and Bandak in others, has grown wild and abundantly across Afghanistan's mountainous central.
Well, I'm not a big-time druggie, so I guess that slipped by me.
Yeah, they're growing the ephedra, is what it is. Set in a quiet building in the back of a government compound in north of Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, Khalid Nabaza sits at a desk. Behind him are 4 screens, each showing a room packed from floor to ceiling with crystal methamphetamine, just a small portion of the amount seized by Afghan police in drug busts in 2020.
Wow.
Damn.
That's a pretty good find.
I know, right?
So this guy was sitting on his butt for 2 hours a day looking at 4 screens, you telling me?
Maybe.
I'm sorry, but Kurt really put himself out there and put his ass in a sling when he said that.
I think he put his ass in a sling a couple of times. And I think he realized it. And that's when he came back with, oh, but none of this is true. It's just what the psychic said. Like, dude,
well, he didn't say that the psychic told him to make 200 G's a year by sitting on his butt for 2 hours a day and that the psychic handed him the world. That's somebody else. That's an unknown party that, I mean, if that call was forwarded to the FBI and they're saying he's bringing in 200K for bringing product from another country, and they'd be like, huh.
I agree. So check this out. The plant-based production has contributed significantly to the local economy. For example, Bakwa District's thriving cottage industry and ephedrine and meth might be worth $240 million a year. It provides seasonal employment for almost 20,000 people, 5,000 of whom are employed in meth labs, and contributes the equivalent of around $55 million a year in local wages. That's Afghanistan. How crazy is that?
Life Has Choices asked me, is Ellen Berg really a millionaire? Well, I don't know. She claims she is or was.
I'm telling you, it all has to do with the meth labs. Nice thunder.
I mean, as of a couple days ago when Jim Brenner got arrested and it sounded like he was you know, a real dirtbag, shooting at people, beating people with chairs, assaulting people since the 80s, it was like, well, that seems logical. Maybe he just snapped and did something. And then now all this other stuff is coming out, the Kurt interview's coming out. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe there is more to it than just that.
That's true. I know too many people have fought there's no ephedrine or meth growth. I don't know. I wouldn't fuck with meth. Um so what else do you think of the call?
I think the first half was more to do with Dylan. I think the second half was more to do with Kurt, like kind of puffing himself up and making himself seem like Mr. Big Man, who is the only person who can solve this thing. And he actually said, which I thought was really disturbing, that he was gleeful that Ty Corbin is going to be running people in circles and not finding anything when it comes to Dylan.
And I said this the other day, and I'm going to say it again because I mean it wholeheartedly. You can't know where somebody's not if you don't know where they are.
Yeah, if he's so sure that they're not going to find him any of the places that they're looking, then maybe he knows where he is.
Exactly. And I've said that continually, that nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody can know where somebody is not if they don't know where somebody is.
And I don't like to get into the whole tinfoil hat conspiracy angle of this because I really just want it to make sense. But like when you have somebody who's that close, who Dylan literally lived in his RV or motorhome, whatever he wants to call it, had backdoor access to the saddle store to go cook pizzas, who Kurt was, he had the most intimate knowledge of Dylan's finances, his habits, his lack of cleanliness, when he cooked his pizzas, that there was bacon on the floor, like all these little details that you would get only if you lived with somebody for a long time. It's like, you could go over to somebody's house and hang out with them and you wouldn't know all that kind of stuff. They could be your best friend and you could hang out with them and you wouldn't know that they dropped bacon on the floor or that they habitually spilled their coffee to the point that it pissed you off.
Yep.
Like, did you hear the part about how Kurt was like berating Dylan and saying, it was like he has cerebral palsy or something. He spilled half the coffee.
I did.
It's like, geez, Kurt, you claim to care so much and want him back, but you're trashing him as hard as you possibly can, like saying all the most negative things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know Dylan, but hearing him say those things pissed me off because it's like, obviously something bad happened, whether he's dead or alive. It's like, obviously something bad happened to him. Why are you trashing him?
Yeah, but didn't you notice too that the only thing he seemed to truly care about was money? When he was like, and then, all these people were wanting to, life goes on, even though he's gone and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, I thought you didn't care about money because when you spoke to Jess, you were like, oh, I can't work. I'm so distraught and blah, blah, blah. And now you're like, yeah, people don't care. And I got to get work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, interesting.
Well, he's got to feed 50,000 people over there in the Philippines for some reason.
And that was the other weird thing. And maybe it's me as a mom and my father's gone. But if my mom needed money, I would never be like if she said to me, oh, I'll pay you back, blah, blah, blah. Like that's not a normal relationship. Like a daughter or a kid would just give money. Like they wouldn't even think about it. It was like, oh my God, mom, you need money? No problem. Like, I don't know. I just thought the whole relationship he was saying with his daughter about giving money for these people overseas. And I don't know. It just seemed weird.
Well, you know what else seems really weird about Kurt is that he said multiple times, okay, in multiple interviews now, and he said it at least 3 times in this one that if he had any inkling that Dylan was gay, he would, get rid of him, like,
Yep.
be gone. And he said, because that's a sin. That's a sin.
Yep.
But he's basically, then he goes on, all right, and he talks about using psychics and
Mhm.
tarot card readers and
And
dowsing.
wives overseas,
Well,
but that's
yeah,
not a sin.
but let's omit the polygamy part of it for a second. The
Okay.
whole like witchcraft type aspects that he's getting into, that's a sin too, Kurt.
That's
Where is your religion now when you're contacting psychics and mediums and tarot card readers and dowsing rod guys that can find a single hair, but you can't use 2 hairs because that'll throw them off the track? It's like, come on, what is that crap?
I agree. He's distancing himself from Dylan. He's only doing this now that Dylan's gone. Yeah, I agree with that too. I don't know. I just feel like that I don't know. Do you feel like he knows more? I mean, I'm really tired, so I'm like talking weird, but do you feel like he knows more? Like, what is I personally, let me give you my view. I think he knows what happened or he's involved with what happened. When I say he knows, it could be what he heard through the grapevine. It's not a very big town, but just like somebody said earlier, and I've been saying this for a couple of days, with $100,000 on the line, I kind of think one of these meth heads would have come forward. I mean, if one of these meth heads, or even Kurt or his family, knows what happened, then why wouldn't they come forward and say, this is where his body is, this is how I know who did it, and they're guilty. You have to keep this anonymous, something.
The only thing I can think of with that is that there's a lot of leverage involved, and maybe $100,000 isn't worth dying for if somebody does come forward and they know that's what's going to happen to them, or they don't know because everybody who was involved in the cover up did such a good job that only they are the ones who know.
Now, do you think it's possible? See, here's my thing. Even if Jim Brenner is the only one that did it, let's just say Jim did it all by himself because he's psycho and he just shot him and he did it all alone. It's still a very small town. Somebody knows. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jim isn't the type of guy, if everybody knows his past stuff, then everyone would know, hey, you know what? I guarantee he's the one that Brenner did it and this is how he did it. Like, I just can't imagine Brenner didn't tell anybody or nobody's trying to point the finger at somebody else. I don't know. That's the hard part I can't get past.
He sort of did tell somebody indirectly.
Who?
And he told Dawn that he knew that people were going to come and look through his trailer and question him. And that's why he gave Dawn the black powder rifles and the 22 caliber. So he did sort of indirectly tell Dawn that he knew somebody was going to come for him. And then Dawn gave up the black powder rifles the first time he was interviewed by the cops, but he hid the 22 caliber. And then when they came back, he disclosed the 22 caliber, but said, oh, I wasn't going to give that up because that was left by a previous tenant who lived, I guess, in Jim's trailer. And it was owed to me as collateral for money that they owed me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hella sus to me as well.
I agree.
And there's another gun that was thrown into the mix yesterday by Ty Corbin, actually, because Robert Avilas's mother talked to Robert Avilas, I believe, while in jail, and Robert Avilas told his mother that James Brenner, prime suspect, pulled a 9mm or larger chrome pistol on him while he was over at Becky's place or at Robert Avilas's place with Becky, something along those lines. But he pulled a gun on Robert Avilas, and it wasn't any of the guns that were recovered. So I think that's quite important, that gun that's missing. This happened before Dylan went missing, so it probably is not Dylan's handgun, like a month before.
And this information came from Ty.
It came from Ty, and it came and Ty got it from Robert Avilas's mother, who is in contact with Ty.
Allegedly.
I mean, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Allegedly. But that's where it came from. That's where I heard it from. So I think that's an important puzzle piece, because if that gun exists, if it was James Brenner's, it hasn't been recovered. And also, there is a connection between James Brenner and Chase Venstra. And the connection between James Brenner and Chase Venstra is that they both dated the same woman, Becky, and they also have been known, apparently, allegedly, I'll put that in there, to get drunk and party together. So James Brenner and Chase Venstra knew each other before all this happened.
Yes.
Which is also important because that links Chase Venstra to James Brenner. And perhaps James Brenner did something and asked Chase Venstra to help him clean up the mess or do some kind of a cover-up, because that would also fit well with the fact that Chase was being driven out to Lucin by Robert Avilas around the time that this happened, to Lucin. And that was like right after this happened is when Chase hightailed it out of town to go be seen on camera at the Little Caesars Pizza. So all of these people do, in fact, know each other and associate with one another.
Okay, but I don't think that's ever been a secret.
No, it's not a secret, but so James Brenner was supposedly like a complete loner, but he wasn't really a complete loner. He knows Kurt. Kurt put him up at his place for a year after he burned his cabin down, so they know each other. And then that John Shelton guy or whoever, no, not John Shelton, Ed Harshberger moved him out of town to buy Dylan's place.
I almost just killed myself.
You all right?
Yeah. I tripped over my dog and I almost killed myself. All right. Or broke my ankle. Either way. But I survived.
That's good.
There was something else I was going to ask you when I was getting up.
It's so hard to remember all these people's names, honestly.
I know. I'm just so tired. But there was something else I wanted to ask you. Or not ask you, just point I wanted to bring up. Fuck. Oh, it was about Chase. So someone brought up something the other day that it's been eating at me and I keep thinking about it. What do you think the odds are that it wasn't Chase that he picked up and gave a ride to? And
I've heard this.
Yeah, the reason I say it though is because if you think about it, he knew who Chase was.
Yes.
So why didn't he just say Chase? Like, I picked up Chase, not I picked up some guy.
Okay. Here's my theory on that. It may be that he picked up somebody else, but I highly doubt it. And here's why. Because in an interview, Candace Cooley herself said that if she had found out that Dylan picked up Chase like he said he didn't in the desert, that she would have chewed him out, quote, for days. So I think that Dylan just didn't want to hear it from mom, and that he did pick up Chase let him charge his phone, gave him a warm Coke, like Kurt said, and then drove him wherever. I don't think that it was somebody else. I don't know if it was somebody else or not, but I don't think it was, simply for the fact that my like gut feeling on that is that Dylan didn't tell his mom everything, obviously.
Yeah.
And if he knew he was going to get chewed out by her, he probably just didn't want to hear it. And he was more like, yeah, so this guy popped out in front of me. I didn't give him a ride. I just kept driving. But I think like Candace Cooley herself confirmed that it was in fact Chase and that Dylan did give him a ride. How she knows this, I don't know. But that was discussed in the call with Kurt, where he said that he charged his phone and called, he being Chase, called his father from Dylan's truck or whatever while he was charging his phone. And the father of Chase was like, where you been for the last 3 days? We've been looking for you and all that stuff. So,
but Dylan, but don't forget Jim, and this is coming to me, but Jim was a family friend. So Jim maybe is in cahoots with Chase, and Jim's the one that told Candace what actually happened, because he knew what happened based on the fact that he was in cahoots with Chase. Do you know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if that's where the story came from.
Okay. Because don't forget, though, Jim was the one looking for, Jim was the family friend that was looking for Dylan at first.
Yeah, Jim and Dawn were both looking for
Yep.
Dylan.
So why would they go to Candace or Candace go to them unless they were close? Why were they the first two people that she went to?
The way I understand it is that Candace called Dawn, and then Dawn called Jim to go look for Dylan and see if he was at his grain shed area or his farm or whatever. And I'm not sure if Jim called Dawn back and said, "Oh, he's fine," or if Dawn just assumed that things were fine. But the only concrete thing about that was that they called Dawn on Sunday and asked to check and see what's going on with Dylan, because he hasn't called anybody and we don't know where he is. And it wasn't until Monday that Dawn got back with the family and said, yeah, he's not here. So there's a lot of missing pieces in there, and there's a lot of confusion as to who said what to whom and when. And it's been twisted and it's been said multiple different ways, and the story has changed. Like, for example, the one piece of the story that's changed for me that's kind of a big deal that hasn't really been addressed or clarified was somebody said that the fake tip to Candace Cooley or the family to go and look at Robert Avilas's place came like the day after Dylan was declared missing. And then Kurt says in an interview that it was actually 8 days in. And I don't have an interview that I can find where Candace says that it was only 1 day where Kurt gave the bogus tip. So if somebody can find that, that'd be really good, because that's another big discrepancy that should be looked at.
Discrepancy by Candace or by Kurt?
By both.
Okay. See, I'm not going to put too much on Candace, only because her kid is missing. I wouldn't expect her to get every detail right.
No, but if Kurt's lying and he said that it was 8 days later that they called the psychic to give the false tip to go to Robert Avilas's house, that's a big deal, because if it was said by Candace, I don't know why she would lie about that, and I'm not saying she did. If it was a couple days or a day after he was declared missing, but Kurt says it was 8 days, that's a big time lag, and one of the two has the story wrong. And I think it'd be really important to find out which one of those two time frames the fake tip to go bust Robert Avilas's house in with the 6 cops actually came from. Like, because I don't know. And I'm not, like, here's the thing. I'm not like disparaging the mother or anybody, maybe Kurt, because he's a douchebag. Yeah. But if the story changes, it's important to figure out which one of the versions is the correct one. Like, because the timeline has been changed multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I would love to have a concrete timeline that's pretty much irrefutable, so you can at least know when things happened. Like, when was this bogus psychic tip? What day was that? How far into the Dylan being missing was that? Was it 8 days or was it one day?
All right, hold on one second. Life Has Choices said something. Candace's interview on Diesel Dave, she said Karen called Don. JD Dylan's friend asked Candace if she heard from Dylan. That's how she found out on Monday.
Okay, that's an even more complicated version than what I heard. Sounds about right, though. Life Has Choices. Do you know what day Candace said that the bogus Kurt tip came from?
Wouldn't that be on Jess's interview?
That was with Kurt.
I know.
Somebody said, no, yeah, I know that Kurt said it was 8 days in. I know that for a fact. What I don't know is when Candace said it was.
See, I think that's when they moved the body.
When they did the Robert Avila's ploy?
Yep. I
It
think
could be.
they moved Dylan's body somewhere, and that gave them all the 6 cops that are in the whole precinct, but that's threw them off, because while they were chasing all of this bullshit that Kurt gave them is when they moved the body. And I've always said that.
When Kurt moved the body, you said?
No. Kurt threw all the cops off, and that's when whoever moved Dylan's body somewhere that they can't find it. She said, no, I didn't hear about bogus tip was from her. I only heard different stories on different channels.
Yeah, I don't remember when she said the bogus tip came in, but that would be important to hear too. If anybody can find that, that'd be really good.
She hasn't done that many interviews.
No, she did talk a lot on the Heavy D Sparks video though, and there's like so many comments on there that have popped up even recently.
She says she's going to look it up. But that's, I don't know. The other flip side is, like, why is Dylan and Ellenberg no longer talking? Why won't they talk? Who threatened them? Who shut them up?
Oh, I don't know if it's anybody that threatened them. I think it's because people trashed the hell out of them on other channels.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Why? How many channels did they actually call into?
They only called into Doug's as far as I know, and
Dylan called me once.
Pardon?
Dylan called me once.
Dylan Berg did?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. And then he went off ranting at the end of the stream.
Yep. I never was able to get a hold of him again. It was definitely weird.
I don't know if that's somebody silencing them so much as they got so much bad press on the other YouTube channel that they just were like, fuck this.
What, on Doug's?
Yeah.
Why do you think they got so much bad press?
Well, I know why. And it's because one of the calls with Dylan Berg and Ellenberg ended up with them trying to call Kurt Wadsworth on the phone and like pleading with him to just tell people what he knows, and they'll be there in court standing behind him, helping him out and all that stuff. And then Troy Wadsworth gets on the phone and he doesn't realize he's live. And then he starts really, really trashing Jim Terry and saying, fuck this guy, I'm going to bury him and all this other stuff. So that was like a turning point. And then after that, Doug's channel was basically like, yeah, okay, these people are all shady, screw them.
Gotcha.
because the rationale for that was, why are they protecting the Wadsworth so much? Why are they going to go to court and stand behind them? And Ty Corbin's assessment is exactly what my assessment is, which is that Ellenberg, I believe, technically owns either the Saddle Sore or the Cowboy Bar. It's one of those. And it's the one with the slot machines. I guess it's a Saddle Sore. So she owns that on paper, but Kurt runs it and Troy runs the other one. So they have a financial connection, and they're looking out for their livelihood and their financial,
See, but that's the other thing. If Kurt runs a bar, how come he has no money?
Well, that bar is only open according to Ellenberg, that bar is closed 90% of the time. Like that's what she says. It's closed 90% of the time. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you have a buttload of slot machines in there? Because they do. Somebody took a video of the inside. They got a buttload of slot machines. And the place actually looks really well maintained and nice. Like maybe they've got rats roaming around their kitchen or whatever. But the place is well kept up. The slot machines look brand new and shiny. And it doesn't look like a dump from what I've seen. It looks like, a Cracker Barrel kind of place. I don't know if you have those restaurants where you are, but
yeah, I know a Cracker Barrel.
Okay, so it looks like that. It looks like a kitschy sort of, country western bar, and it doesn't look bad.
But yet it's barely ever open.
Yeah, and how do you keep a liquor license being closed that much of the time? Because that's expensive. How do you have a gambling license when it's closed that much of the time? And also, they don't have security cameras, which is required, I believe, by the state of Nevada. You have to have security cameras on your slot machines, don't you?
Maybe not those kind of slots. I believe Kurt is giving Berg more money than said. I don't know. According to Salty, Kurt has no money.
Which is funny. How do you lose 200 grand?
I agree.
Like 200 grand is a big chunk of change to be making in 1 year. You'd think you'd be putting it away for a nest egg because he doesn't live large or anything.
Or you wouldn't stop making it.
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. It's definitely crazy. It's a crazy case. So what do you think the wind-up's going to be? You think it's going to be Occam's razor, or you think it's going to be a big rabbit hole?
Well, now here's the thing about Occam's razor, and people use it incorrectly a lot of the time, which I kind of have a beef with. Occam's razor states that all things being equal, the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. However, all things are not always equal. And in this case, there's so many moving pieces and so much weird shit that I don't think all things are equal. And I think there is a lot of ancillary shady stuff going on that may be related indirectly, maybe directly. I don't know. But what I do know is that now the very first call that I ever made to a YouTube or anything in my entire life was a few weeks ago, where I called in and I think it was Tyler Feller's show, and I'm like, why are they not flying planes to look for this guy? They've got all these high-tech spy planes, and now they are. As of a couple of days ago, they are flying high-tech spy planes to look for Dylan Rounds.
Because my opinion, I can answer both of those. My opinion on that is the FBI is involved. Even though it's a very vast area, there's only so many places that you can look. And it's kind of like looking for someone in Yellowstone. It's the desert. They may have thought that they were going to find him within, a couple of days. When that didn't happen, they realized, this is bigger than we thought it was. We need to get the planes out. That's why I think, as far as Occam's razor go, all things being equal, meaning that they're all a bunch of meth heads. And this is how I see it, that they're all a bunch of meth heads. This is going to be as simple as drug deal gone wrong, or property damage gone wrong, or something simple and stupid. That's what I mean when I say Occam's razor.
But whose drug deal? Because I don't think Dylan would have been involved in drug deals personally.
I'm not convinced that he maybe said he was going to say something, he was going to rat someone out, he found someone doing something on his property, that kind of drug deal. I'm not convinced that, everyone's saying his mom said it and Kurt said it, that he had a big mouth, he liked to fight, he'll stand up for what's right. He's a typical case of, you're not going to take me down. I've worked too hard. I have, you're not going to be dealing drugs on my property or something along those lines.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the reason why, assuming it was Jim, maybe that's why Jim did it. Maybe Jim was doing shit on his property. Maybe, Kurt was going to turn around and say something, or Kurt was involved in something and Dylan said, yo, man, enough is enough, and was going to do something. Maybe Kurt wanted Dylan gone. I mean, there's so many possibilities, but as far as the drugs go, maybe Dylan wanted, or Kurt wanted Dylan gone, but he liked the kid and didn't have the heart to do it, and got Jim involved. Hey, look, if we don't do something, Dylan just found out about our drugs or our underground meth labs or something, and he's going to rat on us. Take care of it. It's something like that. I just think it centers around drugs somehow.
I mean, there are a lot of drugs in that town.
Mm-hmm. And obviously they're all on meth. But I think it, at first I was like, I don't really know what Dylan's involvement is, but I really do think it's something as simple as he was going to say something. Someone wanted him gone, something like that. I know some people still think he's alive somewhere. I absolutely do not. I definitely don't think he left on his own or anything like that.
I hope he is. That's that would be the happiest possible ending to this whole shit show, would be if he is alive and he's rescued.
Yeah. If he's rescued, if he's tied up somewhere, I get that. But even if he was, I don't think they would have kept him alive this long. And I don't mean to be negative, but I really don't believe. My heart of hearts tells me he's gone.
Well, that's really, I mean, just thinking about that's really depressing. And the other day, I don't think I told you this, but I did say it on a different stream. I looked up, and I can't get high resolution satellite imagery going back to the dates in question. I tried my best to get really high resolution satellite imagery like that you have to pay for, and they don't have it. Huh?
Yeah.
And on low resolution satellite imagery, as of July 9th, Dylan's farm is green and it's growing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And every time I look at that, it chokes me up really bad.
That's awesome, though. See, that's one thing that Salty was trying to point out, that nothing's growing and all this stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you can't even see anything from what you're looking at. So it's nice to hear. It was all gray. So it's nice.
Yeah, it's green now.
That's awesome. Are you the ones that said about the airplanes? That website? Was that you?
I've been talking about tracking airplanes since my first call, which is something that I do as a hobby. And I'm like, why do I not see any out there? And then a couple days ago, I'm like, holy shit, there's one of them. And there's been more. And according to Ty Corbin, they've got a NOTAM, which is Notice to Airmen, for one of the military, because there is military airspace that you can't just fly through right around there. And they're flying over the military airspace with an FBI contract plane looking apparently for Dylan rounds.
Okay.
And it's north of where everybody was thinking. They've also been looking right below Montello and southwest of Montello, pretty far down the mountain range area. But there's planes up now, finally looking.
And what do you think about Aiden? You think it's connected?
I don't, personally. I think what happened with Aiden Clune was basically what the parents said. I didn't follow it that closely because it didn't seem to me to be the kind of, uh, I don't know, the same kind of weird foul play with all these shady characters. What I think happened to Aiden personally, if I had to take a guess, was that he was traveling and he had just changed medications, which can really mess you up. And he became paranoid because of the medication change. He was already having a mental breakdown, apparently. And he was, he pulled off to the side of the road. He got out of his car and he went up into the woods and he played his guitar or something. And then he went back to his car and some Department of Transportation workers saw him do this. And then they called the cops to come and find him and be like, hey, you know, people are looking for you. You better come home. And he saw the cops and he started taking off into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And then the no shoes thing comes into play because of a conflation of reality here, where Aiden Clune was apparently walking through the dirt and the woods with shoes on. And when he would get to a road, he would take his shoes off. And then when he got off the road, he'd put them back on.
Which is so weird.
Well, I mean, if he was trying to avoid trackers, it kind of makes sense. But or maybe he thought that would throw him off. But they tracked him for like 9 miles or something up into the mountains. Then they lost the trail.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like either he died of exposure, I think, or, you know, maybe like, I don't know, an animal attacked him, something like that. I don't think there's any grand conspiracy with Aiden Clune. I think that's more like botched psychiatry and mind bending drugs.
Okay. I go with that. I don't know. It's just so. I mean, it's always been known. You want to hide a body, just do it in the deserts of Nevada. Nobody will ever find him, and that's all I keep thinking about. Like it's honestly, it's all I mean, I've heard that when I used to live in California, and I've lived in Vegas. It's the one thing they said: you ever want to kill someone, just drop them off in the middle of the Nevada desert. No one will ever find them.
I mean, I guess. But I hope that they find what happened to Dylan.
I hope so too. I hope they find a lot of missing kids, a lot of missing people. But
like, there's also the matter of culpability. Like, a lot of people knew who James Brenner was. Like, Kurt knew who James Brenner was. He knew his past, obviously. And
oh, Joseph, I heard that too. That someone said that it was Aiden that Dylan picked up hitchhiking.
according to everything else, it was simply Chase Venstra, and he wasn't hitchhiking. He popped out of the desert with, well, the first accounts were no shoes. Kurt's account is one shoe and a t-shirt around his foot.
And Chase said he had shoes.
We may have had one shoe and then a t-shirt. I mean, but what are you going to believe? Chase is a meth head. Like, he is a meth head. So I would take everything that he says with a large grain of salt.
Yeah.
Like, especially if he's involved somehow, or he's, you know, and also the court date for him that says wanted or in connection with the homicide from May 12th. That's a clerical error.
Yeah.
It's actually June 12th for Chase Venstra.
And you don't think Chase and Jim would have turned on each other, or you think they have him so buried that they know he's never going to be found?
Well, they're both in jail. And I don't know if one of them would turn on the other, or if they're even both involved with Dylan. That's the thing. But they did both know each other, and maybe there's a code of silence thing going on, because they know if one rolls over, then the other one's going to get screwed, and then they're going to air everybody's dirty laundry. I don't know. But they're both scumbags. They're both known scumbags, and they're both, like, neither one of them should have been on the street, because, like, right before Dylan went missing, Chase Venstra was seen by a police officer on the side of the road with a rifle and a pistol, and he's a convicted felon, so he shouldn't have had either. And if they had stopped him, or if James Brenner had already, you know, been in jail, because he had an outstanding warrant, by the way. James Brenner was wanted while he was squatting, from what I understand, for something else.
Yeah.
So, like, they both should have been in jail whenever this transpired.
Which I still don't understand the squatting thing, because didn't he own 10 acres? Wasn't he
He
on
owned,
his own land?
no, he owns 10 acres somewhere else. He doesn't, and I don't even know if he really owns it. It's said that James Brenner owns 10 acres, and I believe it's to the southwest over a mountain where he actually owns a parcel of land. The land that James Brenner was on was owned by Ed Hart. Well, it was leased to Ed Harshberger from
Cuccio.
Joseph Cecchio.
Cuccio. Yep.
Cuccio.
Cuccio. I don't know. Cuccio, Cecchio. Same thing. Yeah, because that was the one thing, because Jim is the one that put up that stupid gate to separate the land. That's why I thought it was his land.
No, it's not his land. He was squatting there. And by squatting, I don't mean that he was like secretly hiding there. People knew he was there, but he doesn't have rights to the land. And if you're living in a trailer, there's some kind of like legality where you can only have it there for 90 days at a time. You got to move it, kind of deal, something like that. So he was basically just camping out in his trailer right by where Dylan lives.
But it wasn't on Dylan's property.
Well, that property where the grain shed is wasn't Dylan's property. He didn't own that. He had the ability to use it and go onto it, to the best of my understanding. And it was also owned by the Harshberger Cecchio thing.
Okay.
Like, that was not technically Dylan's property, to the best of my knowledge. He
Yeah.
parked his grain truck there because there was a shelter.
But is it possible that Cecchio's involved with his land?
I mean, Cecchio is 2 people removed. Like, Ed Harshberger's the guy who moved James Brenner there, probably at the pleadings of Kurt Wadsworth. I don't think Joe Cecchio would necessarily have a motive to do anything to Dylan or anything nefarious. As far as I know, he's just like some dentist who lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I don't think he's like a shady guy. Apparently, Ed Harshberger's pretty shady, but that's more to do with like screwing people on land deals than anything else.
Yeah. All right, I have the deed, and it is on the Elko side. It says lead with love.
You're talking about the deed to James Brenner's little parcel of 10 acres or whatever, I assume?
Hold on. Good grandma, what do you mean you can only send super chats? I don't know, she just said, and thank you, but she just said I have the deed and it's on the Elko side.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Good Grandma the person who was telling me that I'm Salty Pancakes secretly?
She was?
Somebody was. And I think their name was Grandma something.
I don't know. Is she not a member? It's the only way you wouldn't be able to do anything except super chat.
Yeah, I'm definitely not Salty Pancakes. Sorry.
No. Definitely not. But it is 3:00 in the morning. I have got to get to bed. Yeah, Black Dove is definitely not salty. My brain is fried.
Same.
But I'm glad you came up. Next time you have to come up, you have to do it when it's earlier. And I am not half brain dead. So yeah, I can't even think straight anymore. I was yelling at United Airlines for an hour and a half today, telling them my son better not miss that flight. I was like, he's 15 years old and he's alone. And they delayed like 2 hours. And he was almost missed his connecting flight. I was like, you have to tell that flight not to miss it, because there wasn't another flight till tomorrow. I was like, he's not staying in Chicago by himself.
Oh my.
So hour and a half. but he made it. The flight got there a half hour early, which was like next to impossible. I don't even know how it got in so fast, but I told Dayton, I said, that was your dad pushing it so you didn't miss your flight. So he's like, ghosts can't carry airplanes. I said, they can too. I said, they can do anything. They can fly as fast as you want. Good grandma said, no, it wasn't her.
Okay. Somebody called me salty pancakes, and I was just like, what? Somebody else said I was also Jim Terry. I'm like, what?
Did you see his interview tonight?
Which one?
With the cop that I interviewed?
No. I'll have to go rewatch that.
Happened and it went sour. I didn't hear the whole thing, but something went sour, and he like doxed the hell out of Sleuth Mom.
Oh my God.
Try to make a comment towards me in the beginning, and Eric kind of shut it down. But Eric made it a point to kept saying that, you know, he called me that night and was, you know, telling me I had to have him on my show. And he was saying this right in front of Jim. And I'm like, I'm saying to myself, yeah, Eric, because you came on my show. So Jim had to be a piece of it. And I don't know what happened or how it went sour, but when I popped in, Eric and his co-host were like, you know, we've never had a show like this, and I'm sorry to everybody, and I see we got a lot of new people, and this just didn't go the way it was supposed to go, and I don't agree with him. I'm not saying that he's a bad person. Like, really, like, whoa, I gotta listen to this. But the stuff that I listened to, I didn't hear anything that was so over the top. So I don't know. I mean, it was typical Jim talking about himself nonstop, but I don't know. It was weird.
Well, I mean, Jim came on in drag on Doug's show the other day.
It was ridiculous. What do you think of all those when he comes in comedy?
I mean, I don't know what to make of it. Like, it, in a sense, it detracts from things, but in another sense, it keeps the story sensational and in everybody's mind. So even if that's what brings eyes to Dylan Brown's case, it's like, if that helps people find out what happened to him, I don't care if he comes on, you know, in drag and heels or whatever. It's like, whatever he wants to do. But
Eric is failure to stop. He's an ex-cop, and I had interviewed him last week. Don who? I had interviewed him last week, and he's a really good guy. We had a great interview. And then Jim called him at like 2:00 in the morning, I guess, and was yelling at him how he has to have him on the show and he's got to have him on the show and blah, blah, blah. It was very weird. And Eric had explained the whole story, how Jim had called him and basically stated he had to be on the show. Okay. Yeah, see, life has choice. I feel the same way too. He doesn't take anything seriously. I don't think it's good for his career, for his business. And I don't know. I think it's tacky. If Dylan was found and you were making fun of the area, that's one thing. But for him to be blatantly making fun of these people is fucked up. Like, these are real people. It may not be our lives, but these are real people. I don't know. I just don't think you do that while the child is still missing, while a person is still missing. You want to make fun of it after, that's fine, but not while someone's missing. I just think it's tacky. But that's just my opinion. And we like you here too, Grandma. Oh, Alex said the chat was Jerry Springer Wild. Eric was very professional and shut Jim down when he was talking too much about nonsense. Yeah, I saw some of that. But I guess I didn't see the chat at all. So it's probably why it must have been the chat. But I heard they were going after him. Someone had mentioned Adventures of Purpose, that whole thing. He seems to claim that that he pulled that reward money a long time ago. I don't know how you pull reward money if someone's not found, but that's his claim. Yeah, JT dressed in not so much in a drag, but put on makeup and bad lipstick and sunglasses. Failure to stop. Yeah. It was very tacky, in my opinion. I have to find out about the whole family.
I'm not sure that's the Don you're looking for.
Who's Don?
Wait, were they talking about a different Hall?
No, Life Has Choices was talking about Jed Hall, but
Oh,
I don't know who Don is.
Don's the guy that was living close to James Brenner and Dylan Grainshed.
What was his last name?
Liz Hernandez has it, and it's the second one she says. Just below your super chat.
Huh?
To the best of my knowledge, it's Hanson.
Oh. Okay. Oh. Don Hanson.
Brookie dug that one up. She's good.
All right. I'm going to bed. I gotta get sleep.
Same.
I'm too old for this 3 o'clock in the morning rendezvous.
Same. It's 4 for me. So.
Is it really?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, I thought you lived out there.
No, I live in Florida. I'm just a tech nerd who accidentally clicked on this on Reddit and then called into a show, and then people were like, call in because you have insights or something because of my tech nerdery.
I thought you were from the desert.
No, I live in the swamp of Florida.
Wow. I used to live in Florida. Hated it. Hated it. Too many bugs, too much humidity. Ugh.
No, that doesn't bother me. It's just the traffic.
Red ants, crocodiles. Oh, there's traffic everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are.
Not in Montello.
Yeah, it's true. When I first moved here, I moved here from Boca Boynton area, South Florida, and I legit moved here in 2016. There was no traffic. I was like, this is great. I mean, I grew up in New York. I was like, this is great. There's no traffic, nothing. Now, oh my God, it's like New York City. You can't even drive between like 3:30 and 6 because it's just bumper to bumper. I'm like, what happened to my no traffic town? Horrible. Yeah. Everywhere is tons of traffic. It's crazy. All right. My butt's going to bed. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you for having me.
I will do this again when I'm not so tired.
Same. Have a good one.
Bye. All right, guys, I'm going to shut down. I got to get to sleep. I have tons of stuff to do tomorrow. So I want to thank all you guys for coming down so late. I am so sorry it was so last minute. And that's it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Be good. Be good to each other. And I will see you all tomorrow. And welcome new mods. And thank you guys for the super chats. Peace.